Hey gang, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the banana exercise. Feel free to follow these directions, or you can just try based on what you know of the pen tool to trace your banana without following this exactly. There's many ways to use the pen tool, you should first know. But I'll go ahead and open up these directions, and I'm going to, I guess I'll download this so I can open it. Then I'll go back. And when it's a template like this, you might notice that you can open it and it'll say, oh, there's nothing there. You really need to download it because you need to open these AI files. Those are Adobe Illustrator files in Illustrator. So we'll download that, and I'm just going to click it and it should automatically open in Illustrator. So here's what we have. Okay, and if I follow the directions, let's just click on it down here. Okay, it says open it, template simple, toolbox, we want default fill and stroke, set stroke to black, fill to white, and then make the fill box none. Okay, so it is default right there, and the fill box is in front, so I can go ahead and make that none. Okay, we're going to use the pen and begin tracing. So it says drag a starting curve point on the banana's end piece. So you're kind of, if you draw it the way this is showing you, even though this is an endpoint, you're clicking and dragging for the curve that's coming out of it. So you're dragging sort of in the direction of where your next point will be. What direction does that curve go? That's what it's saying. The way this is laid out is that you're going to be editing the path after you draw it. So I'll show you this way, and then I'll draw it the way I would normally just draw it. So we're going to click and drag and then release. So it's kind of a long curve, so somewhere in here you can release. Then we're going to just click in the upper right corner, and I guess you're just going to, let's see. Right, so we're just going to click and release because it's a corner point with no curves over here. And we'll do that again, click, click, at the end of the straight segment. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll come back. So I'm going to do it just like this is telling me to do it. So let's get our pen right over here, or you can press P. Okay, so I'm clicking and dragging sort of toward that end piece. And I don't want to start my next anchor anywhere really close to this handle. See, that's not really the line. This is. Now you're going to see that's kind of straight right now. If I was drawing my normal way, it would look more accurate to start with. So I'll show you both ways. Anyway, I'm going to click here. There's no curves here, so we're just clicking and clicking. Okay, back here. Okay, so we clicked and released. Now we're going to click and drag from the last anchor point. So again, this is a little different than what I showed you guys. You're going to go right back over that same anchor, click and drag right out of it. This is going to make a curve just on that second half of it. Okay, and we're going to drag down. I'm actually going to go more along this line and drag down to make this curve. Okay, and it says the curve can't extend to the other end of the banana because the template's not large enough to accommodate it. I'm not sure about that wording, but anyway, you're probably going to need another point somewhere in here because the curve kind of changes is what I would say. So somewhere in the middle, away from the end of this handle, we're going to click and drag for another anchor here. And we'll pull out the curve. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go right over this guy, and you'll see this looks like it's a little bit off of this because my smart guides made it go there. We can change that later. So I'm going to kind of drag down, sort of like the template showed. You know, normally I'd kind of go in the direction of this, but you see this line is below where I'm at, so I guess we're going for that curve right now. Then I'm going to go kind of right in here. And I'm pulling it out, and I'm just kind of watching how far I pull it to adjust that back line a little bit too. Maybe something like, like that. Okay. Then moving to the left, we're going to have two more anchors you can see. So we'll click and drag slightly because there's a tiny curve here. And then we'll click the next corner and click right on the beginning anchor to finish. Okay, and so we're making an outline of the shape, and then we can adjust it. So I'm clicking and dragging just a little tiny bit toward where this line goes next. So I'm kind of going toward this next corner. Click and release, and click and release, and now it is a shape, but it's incorrect. So now we have to fine tune it. So there's these different curves that you can adjust. First we have to select the anchor points with the white arrow. That's the direct selection tool, and that will allow us to adjust the handles or the anchor point independently of the rest of the shape. Okay, and you can just kind of change the direction or how long each side of the handles are in order to adjust the curves. So that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and do that. So direct selection tool, or you'll see the shortcut is A. And so now I can click, oops. Sometimes you have to click off and click back on the shape too. So click on this handle. So I'm going to pull that curve down. Let's see, I'll click on this anchor to bring out that handle. And I might actually move that just slightly. And the rest of this looks pretty good. Adjust it just a little bit. So a lot of curves will have two handles that sort of adjust it. So now I have that shape done. Now before I fill it, I want to make these other shapes. Okay? So when finished, click the direct selection tool on the anchor point from which second arrow. Oh, I already did all this. Sorry. So I already adjusted these. Okay. Now this is the black shadow. It's suggesting the stem of the banana, and it's just for click and releases because there's no curves, right? So we just click at the corners with our pen tool. I'm going to say P, getting in the habit of doing those shortcuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and actually 5 because you got to click on the beginning one again. Okay? Alright, we're going to swap colors in the toolbox in order to make that black, so the stroke will become the fill. And then we'll deselect the path. Okay, so it's selected. Swap these right here. You can either press X or click this arrow. Oops. Oh, Shift X. Sorry, you can press Shift X. There you go. Or you can press this arrow. So I'm going to use selection tool, deselect this. Now we want to draw this line, and you'll see according to our directions, you're just going to click. So drag on the left end side piece, click and drag to draw a handle. Okay, click the second point on the right. That should be it. And then we'll adjust it if we need to. So P, I'm going to click and drag this, sort of just pull it in the direction it's going. And I kind of don't want this line to be above that line or the curve won't go far enough down. So I'm going to go down that way. And I'll just click here. If you see the line's not quite right, you can even click and drag here a little bit. And you'll notice it wants to fill that shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say V for selection. I'm going to swap these back so it's just a line. And now we can paint it. So we just need to select the banana and give it a fill color. So push this in front, and you can either do it up here and select yellow, or you could do it by double clicking here and selecting a yellow. I don't know if, did it give me a specific yellow? Oh, it did give me a specific yellow. Okay, to get 100% yellow, see this color guide that came up? Yours sometimes might not have options. It might look like this, and you just say show options. And so what I'm going to do is put yellow all the way up and everything else all the way down, and there is your bright yellow banana. Okay, last you just need to title it correctly. So say File, Save As, and then you'll turn it in to the specified place. Make sure you hit the honor pledge if there is one in submissions in order for this to actually submit. So File, Save As, and I think it said last name, first initial, banana trace. Right? Oops, no space. Is that right? Banana trace. anyway, close enough. And then save it as an Illustrator file, and then find that so you could submit it. Just say save. Now, if you wanted to draw this a little more intuitively, I'm just going to redraw the banana shape, so let me delete that. I'll use the pen. Okay, the way I naturally would draw with a pen tool, at least in the way that I first started drawing with the pen tool, when I first started understanding it, what I think is the simplest way to draw with the pen tool is every time you get to a corner, just to click and release. And then if there's a curve, like here I'm in the middle of a curve, click and drag, and I'm dragging this line almost like I'm tracing my finger right along this line. And I know how far to pull it by watching the back side of the line. So back toward that first anchor that I drew, when the line kind of lines up in there, I release. Okay, this one, I can pretty much just click and release because there's no curve there. Click and release, click and release. And this doesn't work perfectly every time, but it kind of gave me a structure for working with the pen tool, because as you'll see in future lessons, there's many ways to draw with the pen tool. Okay, so I'm trying to pick out, like this looks like kind of one curve, this looks like a second curve and a third curve to me. So kind of in the middle of each curve I click and drag, and again I'm going in the direction sort of the line, almost dragging right along that line where it goes next. And I know how far to pull it by watching that back line. So when it's kind of in the middle, right along the template line, then I'm going to release. Here's kind of the middle of the next curve, so I'm going to drag it right towards where the line's going next. And you know, you can experiment a little bit in there. Where does it go next? Kind of like that. What best lines it up? Maybe something like that. Right? So it's still generally to the left and up, and I know how far to pull by watching when the back line seems to kind of match up. Here's a slight curve in the kind of, what do you call it, the stem of the banana. So I'm clicking and dragging toward where it goes next, and I know how far to drag by watching the line behind it. No curve here, it's an angle, so I click and release, and up here I click and release. And this one I don't really probably even have to modify. If I do, it's very, very minor. You know, like maybe I just switch this angle slightly, and I'm going to just push my arrow key to nudge that up a little bit, and maybe pull this side a little bit longer, and that looks good. So then I can select the whole shape, put my yellow color back, and because I remade that banana on top of all my other paths, I'm just going to drag it to the bottom. So anyway, oh my god, my Illustrator just quit. That's crazy. Well, you guys get the picture. So in the layers palette, you should be able to just, you know, drag those subpaths anywhere. But two ways of drawing. Hope that helps you guys. I have to reopen my Illustrator. I guess this is a lesson in Save Often.